Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another update video. Now, it's been a while. I haven't done an update on like almost 2 weeks, I would say. That's because I was kind of busy. I was also a bit sick, and then I watched the stuff, so I didn't even really play all that much. But we're back at it again, and I actually had somewhat of an opportunity to kind of think things through. And basically, last time I left off with the whole idea of rethinking my Oki strategy because I wasn't really applying any level of thought when I did my Oki, and the whole thing kind of evolved into like, oh, yes, let me just define the like have predefined Oki I would have for every situation, and just kind of trying using that, and it kind of what I went ended up doing was kind of try to utilize this Obsidian plugin to have these things, right? And it took a bit because this is like done programmatically, right? So it's not really easy. So I had to set up these templates and shit like that, like where whatever. Anyways, and I didn't realistically, I'm not even doing it correctly, but at least I have like a kind of a system in place where I could use this, and I think it looks pretty nice. I haven't really compiled it, but that's besides the point. What I actually wanted to talk about today, which was kind of the main maybe point, is something I've kind of figured out, right? Because um offense wasn't necessarily the only kind of aspect of the game I would say I had issues with, skill-wise, right? I could do this, whatever. But also defense, right? That's also an issue. And what I've kind of observed trying this kind of offensive thing where I restart kind of the offensive adaptation is the fact that oftentimes I struggle to reset set by set, right? So, for example, and here I'll pull out the paint, right? And I have this, right? Say these sliders, right? This graph is an indicator of how aggressive or passive you are on defense, right? This isn't the end all be all of the gameplay, but as an illusory kind of as a concept. And let's say my first set of the game, I kind of start off like here, right? Let me use a brush. I kind of start off here, right? Oh fuck. Okay. And I observe the fact that this opponent um, baits a lot, right? When they're on offense. So I start adapting in this direction, right? And maybe on defense, they're a lot more, happy with the reversals, and I do kind of this adaptation, right? What I noticed is that by the end of the when the set ends, and this adaptation doesn't come easy, right? Like that's something I've been working on, but I do feel that I've gotten better at kind of adapting on the fly, right? Even utilizing this as a kind of initial strategy where I kind of have this. Now the problem with this, which I didn't really explain beforehand, is that oftentimes I find myself getting knockdowns that aren't specifically from combos. With Viper in particular, you're gonna get random, like maybe sizable knockdowns or random bird kick knockdowns, and I mean they're technically kind of predictable, so I should definitely lab them out. But yeah, anyways, point being, when I play my next set, instead of restarting here, I start closer to here. Now, granted, if the person, for example, I just played is a serial throw techer, right, and I start backdashing a lot, right, to throw to tech the throw, say I do this in the Kona and it works, the next match I am gonna be somewhat conscious of this. I'm not gonna immediately start off just you know backdashing, but that is because backdashing is a very kind of it's a hard call out, right? Out of all the things, it is a very hard call out because you lose your turn and you lose to reversals and shit like that. So I won't necessarily immediately start off with this. So I do kind of reset my adaptation. But what sometimes still happens is that maybe I'll throw less, right? So my adaptation would maybe start off, here, right? At the start of the next set, right? Which isn't necessarily good, right? Both on the player matchup and more importantly on the character matchup. And this is actually what kind of made me realize this, and that it's, for example, playing against jury, right? So I never really like I've noticed that I kind of get pissed at quote unquote fake offense, right? Like I don't accept the fact that people do lights into mediums when that shit's not real, right? So oftentimes I find myself just pressing after lights or like mediums that kind of feel like they shouldn't lead to anything, which is most of the time the case. But against Jury in particular, I don't know why I always fucking mash on her offense, which is stupid as shit because she literally gets 20 million frame traps per turn, so it's absurd, like So I need to adjust that, and that is something that I've realized, that come to realize, is that while okay, ideally I would want to reset to kind of a neutral stance for adaptation. This neutral stance kind of changes from character to character. So while maybe I shifted here, and it's not that bad. Maybe I instead of shifting until there, I shifted like closer to here, right? I've mostly reset. Maybe against Jury, my optimal game plan is to actually be like here, right? So now I'm really far away from this, and I'm getting fucked, right? Especially on defense, right? On offense, maybe I need to be a bit more aggressive, because she can't really use her fireballs against Viper, because you can seismo it, you can burn kick it. So maybe be a bit more aggressive, but on defense, you need to be more passive, because she has 20 million frame traps, right? Maybe try to get some perfect parries and whatever, right? So that's kind of the thing I've noticed, and how to change that, right? Like, well, I don't know, right? That's kind of the idea. I just wanted to kind of showcase this analysis. This is my little update. Um, I think what I'll do about this is keep on maybe writing this, because I haven't really done this. Because again, I was watching SFL and I kind of felt like playing a lot. And right now, especially, I've not been playing all that much. I've kind of wasted my time. Um, I've kind of been wasting my time, but I have. Um, I've actually gotten Grandmaster finally. I forgot that's part of the update, right? And I've kind of noticed maybe I would appreciate playing a bit longer sets again for this kind of adaptation to Kin better, and mostly also to kind of practice these a bit more, and like changing these, right? Like tuning these to kind of call out specific things, and stuff like that. Like you're just experimenting, and shorter sets and ranked are kind of not it, I feel like. So I've kind of tried to play a bit longer sets, but then again, to address this, I think obviously that comes with kind of the territory of just playing more, getting more used to stuff. But also it's about kind of recognizing what your opponent is looking for, what they want to do, right? That is another thing I've kind of noticed that I don't really do all that well. And I've noticed thanks to Room Noxy, right? That's a friend I play often, Geef, and I mean he's from Malaysia, so we have high ping. But he always manages to kind of like his neutral decisions. I can't get a read on them. And he does say like, "Oh, I observe what you want to do, what etc." Right? Tries to call it out, and I don't really do that all that much. It's definitely something I know I should be doing, right? I realize that, but in the heat of the moment, right, it's kind of hard to do. So that is also why I've kind of tried to play longer sets. That way I can try to maybe identify that. Um, but yeah, so this is a little graph. And what else? I mean, that's it realistically. That was my update. I don't have much else to say. So thanks for watching, and I'll make an update the next week, hopefully.